Hi, this the Pope. Please be seated. So, I've been wanting to do a reading of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution for quite some time now, and I actually Googled it the other day for unrelated reasons, and I noticed that the document itself is actually starting to get pushed down in the Google search results. It's getting overrun by what's clearly just a lot of criminals trying to cite to it in their appeals process and try to say, well, actually, this is Morocco. If you read the treaty with Morocco, which don't read the part where it says the United States is is an independent country, but it does say that we're Morocco, so I'm allowed to poop in these mailboxes. So instead, you're getting this useful 11 inches if 851 document. Yeah, it's Google trying to read a PDF and failing, but yeah, called it. I got your affidavit of truth, got your inability to understand punctuation. Sid. Is that just a really terrible way of saying sesquiquavi? I don't even know how to say that, so I'm just gonna stop sounding like. I got a Noble Drew Ali thing. This is the following persons were appointed sheiks: Mealy L, Small Bay, Big Bay, and Medium Bay, Lovett Bay, and Foreman Bay. I like Lovett Bay. I'd be Lovett Bay. Foreman Bay. Apparently, they named themselves like Smurfs back in the day. This is probably the actual, this on Weebly, but this is... you see clip art like this looking like it came out of a 2001 GeoCities page. You've delved a little too far between the butt cheeks of the internet, and maybe it's time to go outside. But, okay, it does seem... it's got the articles. Aret Colvi. That's a good one right there. But yeah, it looks like this is a translated version from the original. It's like the new international version of the Moorish Constitution. But baby, you know what I got? I got the Old Testament. I got the King James, King David, King Cobra version here with copyright on it, which kind of bothers me because there's obviously some kind of shading, like this was scanned in, but then this lettering looks really added on later. So I genuinely don't know. I could be wrong about that. And that copyright is actually the first thing you notice about the Zodiac Constitution. It's also mentioned here. This is their copyright number or whatever. And this idea that it's in the Library of Congress. It may be, I don't know, but it's copyrighted. Why would a nation's constitution, the foundation of a nation's laws, be copyrighted? What is the point of that? The founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson didn't say, well, okay, we've written this thing. Ah, great. Can we see it? No. You can buy a copy. That does not happen. Now, I know the real reason why they would copyright it and say stuff about the Library of Congress. It's the same reason any Sov Sit tries to get their bunk paperwork notarized. They think it's some kind of magical tacit acceptance, thank you, Mr. Brooks, of the legality of this document, which it clearly is not. But these are the Moors. They're not the Temple Moors. Those guys are okay. I'm talking about the Sovsit Moors here. These are cats who try to sneak proclamations before different mayors and governors to try to get them to say oh, the Moorish Americans or whatever. And then they can say, well, now the government recognizes us, so we can poop in all the mailboxes. I mean, it's really weird, right? They're essentially saying, we don't recognize your authority. Here, sign this. What's this? We need your permission to not recognize your authority. Please sign it. Please notice us. Ooh, 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 ooh. So that's why that exists, but it's a really jarring note to start this thing off with. But we'll just go through it. I'll do a reading of it. This is the Zodiac Constitution by C.M. Bay. Copyright A 222141, Library of Congress, Washington, D.C., Islam. Article 1. The 12 signs of the Zodiac, the Code of Mathematics scaling from 0 to 9, and the Science of Geometry, G in parentheses, comprise the Constitution of the living Moorish nation of North America, referred to as Negroes. Thanks for making me say that. Who ruled the world and the 7 seas by the 12 signs of the Zodiac and the Science of Geometry, G in parentheses, for 1196 years, to the Amazon Dutch German Catholic priesthood fathers of the Revolution of 1789, and the Sisterhood Manga Charta, Emancipation Proclamation, Union Society of White Supremacy, in 1863, North America. The 12 jurymen of the 50 Union State Society, and also the nun-judges of the Supreme Court, were founded upon the Moorish nation's 12 signs of the Zodiac Constitution and mathematics scaling from 0 to 9. Thus, without our Moorish Constitution, the Manga Charta, Emancipation Proclamation, Union Society of the Myth of White Supremacy definitely could have been found in 1863. So, A, this whole first paragraph, this is one sentence. I don't see another period in there. This is supposed to be a sentence. 2, I'm reading the Moorish Constitution. This is literally like the Constitution itself. Like C.M. Bay and Charles Bay was typing this out while saying it is also the foundation of the number of justices on the Supreme Court. Also, that isn't a fixed number. That isn't in the Constitution. There have been different numbers. There have been as few as 5, if I remember correctly. 6, 7 justices for many, many years, probably even in 1863. So, and I'm going to be really nitpicky about this, but 0 through 9 is 10 digits. He forgot to count from 0. It's 9 judges, but it's 10 digits if you count 0. So, nobody cares. Moving on. Article 2. Zodiac Constitution Birthrights. The Moorish American. The Bays and L's. Since the 12 jurymen of the 50 Union States Manga Charta document of white supremacy and the 9 judges of their Supreme Court were founded upon our Moorish Zodiac 12 Signs Mathematical Constitution, the lawmakers have no jurisdiction over the free Moors, the Bays and L's, in the inherited land of the Moorish nation, namely USA, Canada, Central and South America. Lucky break for Mexico, Cuba, Dominican Republic. You missed a few guys. And this is why I wanted to do an oral reading, like an audio sort of thing, because one of the things I noticed is every time you see, the Moorish American or the Moors or anything, he always adds this motif, the Bays and L's after it, like a Homeric epithet. Homer would always, talk about fleet-footed Achilles, rosy-fingered Dawn. He always had those epithets in there, and that's why Bay put me in mind of that. Like, okay, he writes like he's damn near illiterate. Maybe he is a really good speech maker, and I should read. My thesis is going right the hell down the drain with this stuff, but whatever. The Moorish American nationality and their surnames, Bay and L, very clever, are their inherited birthrights without a legal due process of the lawmakers of the Union Society USA. What our Moorish forefathers were, we are today without a doubt or contradiction, namely, Moorish. Article 3. Tax and military exemption for Moorish Americans. The Bays and the L's. There should be a little musical sting for that. I'm going to write a musical sting for that. Be forewarned. The Moors, referred to as Negroes, definitely can never become members and citizens of the Union Society of the 48 States. 50, 48. Did they do something to North Dakota and Colorado that I didn't hear about? Therefore, they cannot be forced or drafted into the Union, USA Army, or military service to fight for the Manga Charta Code of the white supremacy against themselves. Wouldn't the Manga Charta Code be a Japanese supremacy thing? You were all thinking it. I said it. It's my video. Bugger off. The lawmakers of the 48 States Union Order cannot force the Moors, the Bays and Dells, to pay taxes because taxation without representation is a supreme violation of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution birthright of Islam. When the Union lawmakers denounce their immortal Manga Charta Code and resort to the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors are compelled to pay taxes because every one of the nation will be equally represented by it. There is no room in the science of Masonry, the Zodiac, for mystic god religious worship, race, color, ignorance, war, crime, slavery, and human injustice. This is one of the things that, like, the Moorish Sovsits, I'm endlessly fascinated by. They are such a weird mutation of regular Sovsittery. Like, normally, these would be people who despise the Masons, who think the Masons run the entire world. But apparently, like, the Moops are just like, yeah, we're Masons now, too. We got the fezzes. What are you going to do? So, I don't know what that's about. I think it's kind of... it's interesting. It's kind of cool. I'll give him points for that. I'll give him Pope points. Article 4. Adequate employment and protection for Moorish Americans. I don't know where the employment's coming from, but apparently it's not going to be in the military. Sergeant Bay is not in the building. Every lawmaker, the heads of industry and business enterprise of the 50-state Union Order, are obligated members and citizens of the Magna Charta Christian Church and Temple System of Christ the King of Jews, meaning jury over the wealth and culture of the living Moorish nation of North America. Therefore, by the Moorish Zodiac Constitution, the Moors, the Bays and Dells, can demand adequate employment, food, clothing, shelter, medical care, equal rights, respect, and protection from mob violence, rape, and injustices, otherwise without being obligated to the Union Church and religious system of the Order of Christ, the White Sun Idol God. Article 5. Immortal Marriage License Code against the Zodiac Law of Nature. Truth cannot be altered, and therefore needs no apology nor doctrine, because it is the supreme mental doctor itself for the entire human family, woman and man. Thus, the truth is, the Sisterhood Christian Daughters of the American Revolution, DAR, established the Marriage License States' Right Code to prevent Moorish men and women from marrying into their Magna Charta Society of White Supremacy. Did you ever stop to think that women and men are already married by the supreme law of nature, and that a marriage license is an active violation of the law of nature? Two thoughts. One, you got me there, Chuck. I never did stop to think about that. And two, why is there a rhetorical question in a constitution for a nation? The nature law union between women and men spells love, and the reproduction of a child, in which a marriage license plays no part in. In which... definitely, there cannot be any illegitimate children offspring from women and men, because women is supreme gate of creation of both male and female children by the law of nature, which spells Islam, or I, self, law, and master, the carpenter and the grand architecture of the human family. That doesn't spell Islam. That spells Islam. So work on your acronyms a little more. Also, like, Islam comes from a non-English speaking background. I don't know the history. I know they weren't speaking English. Even people from England weren't really speaking English at the time. So trying to do a what we call a backronym on this sort of thing makes practically no sense to me. I can think of a number of other ways to fill that in that would make as much sense. So, Adam means the positive forces in woman and sons responsible for evolution or the reproduction of children by the law of nature. The Pope, hey, that's me! Priests, the preacher, and judges of the Christian society definitely cannot prove that their Adam and Eve had a marriage license. Okay. Did you ever stop to think that the marriage license code is an act of selling women and men back to themselves? Well, did you? I bet you didn't. The Union Magna Charta marriage license code, unfortunately and unconsciously, caused the white women to be cut off from the human family, the Moorish nation. They were cut off. Where are they at? We don't know. In other words, the white women are supreme social slaves against their will and desire. This has caused them to carry in their mind and heart a secret sorrow and anger, which causes their children to inherit a tendency of crime, hatred, insanity, and various other diseases. Cue the Sarah McLachlan. Islam. Supreme standard of the Zodiac marriage law. Culture. Here are the elements of the signs of the Zodiac and women and men's opposite signs involving the first marriage of the Zodiac law of nature. No preacher and money and license and neither religion is necessary in the standard Zodiac marriage law. In harmony with nature. And I'm going to skip all this stuff because the rule is just have a birthday that's 6 months before or after your spouse. That's it. That sounds kind of stupid when you put it that way, doesn't it? The 1863 Union Bible story of Eve and Adam were founded upon the Moorish Zodiac 12 signs law, the negative and the positive forces of nature, female and male. In harmony with nature. And then there's some more rules, apparently just for fire and air signs. So I'm a Scorpio, water sign, so I don't care. Persons born under the opposite signs and the angle signs are in harmony with one another in every manner. Thus, first-hand knowledge of the sign under which you and your mate were born will guide your destiny in peace, progress, and happiness forever. Let us remember that this is not a theory. Having a birthday 6 months before or after your spouse's birthday is absolute universal standard of marriage and human guidance. Woman and man will know their duty towards one another and the 6-month difference between their birthdays without being forced by the traditional code for the courtroom. Article 6. The one and only universal moral law for unity, peace, and economic and social progress. The Moorish Zodiac Constitution is the only universal, unchanged moral law for the human family. I can tell you didn't edit this. For unity, human equality, respect, peace and economic, plumbing, heating, TV VCR repair, or get your degree. You can major in business management or social progress. Therefore, every Moor, the bays and bells, must be guided by this Constitution and Book Clock of Destiny. Do that which is right by reason, and have respect for the white lawmakers and citizens of the Magna Charta, this time Union Society of the 50 states, welcome back to our 2 prodigal states, in order to demand respect from them. The white peoples of the Union are guided by their Magna Charta traditions and customs, and the Moors are guided by the Zodiac Constitution law. Nevertheless, their customs and traditions, including themselves, must be respected by the Moors without submitting themselves to any of the Magna Charta customs. You were doing so well. That which is termed the Christian law is, a rule of action recorded on paper and supported by authority and force. The Zodiac law of nature, also, is recorded in the wisdom of women and men, and supported by moral intelligence, the greatest law. Knowledge of Zodiac Masonry, as shown in this Moorish Constitution, and also in my book, Clock of Destiny, Volumes 1 and 2, available at all fine book retailers.
Here comes the money!
Here we go, money talk.
will prevent a Moorish American, he or she, from indulging in crime. They, them, would not have to appear in the courtroom to stand trial. Should a Moorish American who has this Constitution and Books 1 and 2, order now, indulge in crimes such as narcotics, robbery, forgery, prostitution, illegal whiskey or alcohol, illegal schemes, gambling, peace-breaking, violence, and disrespect for the law of the city, country, state, and federal, they then have incriminated themselves and therefore will be penalized. This Constitution, card, and book definitely does not protect criminals. Beware. The Clock of Destiny Moorish American Card of Identification and Constitution has been registered in the Library of Congress and signed by author C.M. Bay. A Moorish American cannot be convicted on false accusation for rame-up charges. The evidence against a Moorish American must be concrete proof beyond a shadow of doubt. The Moorish nation of 15 million, circa 1951, of USA shall not be destroyed for lack of truth and knowledge of the law and constitution of the Moors. Article 7. The Moorish American freedom and legal in the Christian Union courtroom. Okay. In the Christian Union courtroom, the Moors cannot be forced to remove their red fez from their heads, nor can they be forced to raise their hand and take oath over the Christian Bible. Neither can Moors,
the bays and bells,
employ white or Negro lawyers to represent them. The reason for this is that the white people and their Negro slaves definitely cannot represent free Moorish Americans. That's a very tautological statement. Okay, so the Moors cannot employ these lawyers to represent them because these lawyers definitely cannot represent them. The Negro is the property of the Union slaveholders. The Moors must respect the court by saying, "I affirm." Here the court has no jurisdiction over them, which automatically makes them qualified to defend themselves by their Zodiac Constitution law and their mathematical number 9. The number 9 corresponds with the letter I, based on the 9 months from conception to birth, which makes you yourself the great I am. The first and the highest law of self-protection and self-preservation in harmony with your Zodiac 12 signs unchanged constitution moral law of 360 degrees squared by your number 9. I feel like I'm reading a bottle of Dr. Bronner's here. This also mathematically, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean anything. And the letter I, like, okay, yeah, it corresponds with the word meaning like me, myself. But it doesn't in Spanish. Like the word yo starts with the letter Y, so do Spanish-speaking Muslims not count? The Moorish Zodiac Constitution is referred to in Christian mythology as the Holy Quran or Al-Quran, meaning the earth, the moon, the sun, and the 7 planets or chronology zodiac record of the Moorish nation of the Northgate, North America. That's what Quran means, is it? The name Muhammad, prophet, religion, God, church, temple, and mosque, was he all those things? Were established by the Dutch Anglo-Saxon priesthood Franciscan Father of North, who overthrew the Moorish Society of Islam between 1789 and the Union of 1863. What? The Moors. The bays and bells must never attempt to teach or lecture in the Christian institutions, namely church, temple, mosque, school, and hall. This is a violation of the Union Society States' Right Magna Charta Code of Mary and Christ. The truth of the Moorish Zodiac Constitution law and moral human principles definitely conflicts with the Christian Union customs and doctrine of the Magna Charta from every angle. Nor do not criticize the white people's belief in the religion of their sun and women image. Nor do ever attempt to influence the white people to accept the oral truth and principles of your 12-sign zodiac constitutional law. Because the Magna Charta is a Latin phrase meaning magnate charta of white people's economic and social attraction only, which had its beginnings in the colonies of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois in 1848 and 1854. Latin is such a rich language, isn't it? Okay. If the lawmakers of the 50 Union States Society of North America should attempt to ignore the Moorish Americans' zodiac law and birthrights of this Constitution, it would be an act of supreme violation of their own Magna Charta Code. Wa alaikum assalam. The Moorish Zodiac Constitution is the only universal unchanged moral law for the human family for unity, human equality, respect, peace, and economic and social progress. Member FDIC, terms and conditions may apply. Well, thank God that's over. Hi, Pope here, a couple days later, just finishing up the editing on this thing. My God, do I smack my lips a lot. In the meantime, I've had some thoughts about the supposed copyright that somebody claims to hold on this thing, as well as the Library of Congress stuff that I couldn't quite figure out at the time. I'm going to throw that into another video, along with a much shorter sort of summary Cliff's Notes version of what this little document here was all about, and see what we learned about the Constitution, about the Zodiac, and maybe just a little bit about ourselves. I'd be absolutely astounded if anybody made it to the end of this thing, but if you did, I mean, thanks, man. Otherwise, yeah. See you around. Bye.